Hi, everyone. I am reading from First Week in Advent, and it's Wednesday or day 4 of the first week from the Handel's Messiah Family Advent Reader by Donna Payne and Fran Lenzo. And Richard found this book somewhere in our pile of books everywhere and got it out, and that's why I'm reading all this to you guys. Now, I've already read it to the boys because they're a little bit wiggly, so I thought it might be easier to read it to everybody else without the boys being here. You can hear them in the background. But this one is entitled Christmas Truce. Comfort ye, my people, saith your God. Speak ye comfortably to Jerusalem, and cry unto her, that her warfare is accomplished, that her iniquity is pardoned. Based on Isaiah chapter 40, verses 1 through 2. When Christmas came in 1914, in the first year of World War I, the soldiers were in trenches on the battlefront, weary from the sights and sounds of warfare. For hundreds of miles along the battle line, both sides had dug rows of ditches and underground supply rooms. Each side's trenches faced the other, separated only by barbed wire and a narrow strip called no man's land. A trench soldier shared his sleeping bag with rats and bugs and frogs. Sometimes he was knee-deep in mud and water. At Christmas time, the soldiers had freezing rain and snow and ice. Always, there was either the memory or the reality of rifle fire, of ear-splitting explosions, of big guns and rockets, and the rat-a-tat-tat of machine gun fire, and the brilliant light of exploding shells in the night sky. How could there be Christmas peace in a place like that? Back home, wives, mothers, fathers, sons, and daughters waited for their soldiers, hoping for a peace that did not come for 4 more years. That Christmas, the shops did a record business, post offices were overworked, and trains were busy with the business of sending Christmas packages to the trenches. People sent hand-knit clothes, sweet cakes, gloves, photographs, and letters. Speaking of sweet cake, there is a cake that you can look online called trench cake that was made during World War I, and the cake had a long lifespan, apparently. It could be wrapped in paper with string, and it was very popular in World War I. Trench cake, it's called. I'm going to try to make that this season. The French military organized deliveries of holiday gifts for their soldiers and bought all the plum pudding they could find to send to the British soldiers. In England, newspapers and clubs raised money to send presents to the troops. Hotels printed war pictures on their menu. King George and Queen Mary sent a Christmas card to each British soldier. The French government delivered Christmas gifts from Germany to their German prisoners of war. The New York Times reporter in Paris wrote, "The spirit of those at home is not to give presents to one another, but to unite, to give all to the son, father, or brother serving with the flag." The outpouring of gifts and love was an effort to bring a few moments of comfort and peace to young men at war. The Christmas prayers and concern of the families at home were not unusual for nations at war, but that Christmas of 1914, here and there along the trenches, something unusual did happen. Without official approval, sometimes against orders, and almost by accident, the soldiers in the trenches made for themselves a Christmas truce. Up and down the line, At different times and in different places, the guns were silent. A few soldiers called out or sang or even stood up and approached the other side. "We don't want to kill you. Don't shoot," they would shout. In some places, Germans and British soldiers sang Christmas carols together, each in his own language. In others, they met in the middle of no man's land and exchanged chocolate, tins of jam, cigarettes, souvenirs, and addresses. They shook hands and showed photographs to their family. In one place, Irish soldiers lined up with their German enemies to take photographs together. In another, German and Scottish soldiers laid down their hats for goalposts and played a game of soccer. In some places, the Christmas truce lasted only hours. In others, it lasted for several days. But everywhere it ended. In the north of France, big gunboats at sea began firing at the end of Christmas Day in a blazing fireworks display. British and German officers climbed to the tops of their trenches and saluted each other and fired shots into the air, signaling that the war had started again. World War I, the Great War, ended in 1918 and was supposed to be the war to end all wars. But of course, it was not. Since that time, there have been big and little wars between nations. The world even saw a Second World War. Many countries still have hatred between people of different races and religions. Anger causes problems between friends. Families have arguments. A war between good and evil is fought in each person's soul. We are at war with each other, with ourselves, and most of all with God. The prophet Isaiah tells us to be comforted. Our sins can be forgiven and our warfare ended. A peace treaty between God and man was accomplished by the God-man, Jesus, when he paid the penalty for the sins of the world on the cross. Be comforted. One day, there will be peace on earth, now and forever. We can have peace for our souls. Jesus came to Bethlehem to provide a Christmas truce that never ends. And then I'm going to show you the music from the Messiah in a picture. And I will sign off. Good night. Turn this around. Oh, I can't do it. Oh, well. Yeah, let's see. I'll do it this way. There's the picture. And here's the music. So have a good evening. Bye-bye.